4 American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice to this nation are headed home today. President Trump will be there at Dover Air Force Base for their dignified transfer. One of the most important parts of being our commander-in-chief. It is a tender duty, as I refer to it. And those 4 soldiers were killed in the Middle East. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. This event is expected to begin at any moment now, and we are not able to show it live, but we will play out the video for you as soon as it is available. The soldiers returning home are First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, Private Isabella Gonzalez, Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton, and Sergeant Angel S. Rampersad. President Trump spoke this morning before he left.
They are indeed great heroes. We're going to honor them, and one of the hardest things to do. For me, it's one of the hardest things to do as a president, but has to be done.
United States forces have completed 11 straight nights of strikes against Iran's regime. And the military campaign is keeping up pressure on Iran, while that radical Islamic nation continues to threaten American forces and kill them, unfortunately, and commercial ships. Central Command says the latest wave of military operations hit centers, maritime capabilities, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, and military logistics infrastructure. It says the strikes are meant to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten anybody. Attention is now turning to Pickaxe Mountain. So we mention this almost daily now because of the movement that we suspect at that nuclear site of materials toward it in just the last few days based on reporting that we know. The site is buried deep inside Iran and could become a key test of American military power. Again, we are doing this from the air, and we are decimating them. The President and War Secretary Pete Hegseth talked about it.
We follow the material. That's where the action is. And we'll be hitting that area probably pretty soon. And there's not a thing they can do about it.
A lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military.
We hear you, Secretary Hegseth. A lot of the things are classified. Victoria Coates, the former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, is coming up, and we will talk about why that is necessary, because certainly the enemy wants to know what we'll do. Let's begin with Aishah Hasnie at the White House. Aishah.
Harris, great to see you. And just a reminder for our viewers out there, the only reason we're going to get to see this playback shortly here is because all 4 families have been gracious enough to allow the press there, to allow cameras there. That doesn't always happen, so we are grateful to those 4 families. We are told by a White House official that the president will spend some one-on-one private time with the families where he will share his own remarks and his thoughts with them, something that we will not get to see. And the president just telling reporters what he's going to say to those parents today.
Well, all I'm going to say is we love you, we love your child, and that's what they are to them. They're their children. There's no games, no nothing. That's their child. And all you can do is throw out your heart.
So the president said they are going to release the findings of the investigation into how these troops were killed. Here's what we know so far, Harris. First Lieutenant Feehan and Private Gonzalez were both killed following that Iranian missile and drone attack at an air base in Jordan. Sergeant Rampersad disappeared after that same attack. The military says that she is believed to be deceased. Sergeant Swinton was killed at Erbil Air Base in Iraq during the controlled detonation of a downed attack drone. Lots of questions about how Iran was able to attack our U.S. troops. And yesterday, the president appeared to blame Jordan's defense system for allowing those Iranian missiles to get through to where these troops were stationed.
They did slip something through in Jordan, and if we had other operators, would not happened, unfortunately. But because we have the best equipment in the world, we've stopped almost everything. But when you let other people do your job, with the United States, we let other people do the job, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well.
Harris, this has become a turning point in this conflict. The president is now threatening to hit civilian infrastructure, posting on Truth Social from this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran. He is also now vowing to bomb Iran's Pickaxe Mountain that is believed to be shielding an alleged nuclear storage facility. The Iranians continue their attacks while the president insists that they do want to talk. They want to meet desperately, although he is not ready until he feels like they want to meet in a meaningful way. Harris?
Well, and I would imagine vetting, who you're going to sit down with this time, because they keep reneging on everything they do. That vetting process is tough, but it's got to be done in some way, and that takes time. Aishah, thank you. And focus with me now, Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor to the President, also Vice President of National Security at the Heritage Foundation. Great to see you today. Look, let's start with this push ahead in war and what we are now faced to do. What does that mean sort of in a political way around the region of the Middle East?
Well, great to be with you too, Harris. And I think what the president just posted on Truth Social is important, that we're going to start attacking, or continue attacking, actually, bridges and power plants, particularly around Tehran. And why that's important is the conditions in Iran are extremely bad. Nobody's talking about this, how just degraded the country is.
That's
Communications,
right.
Transportation, the whole overall economy. They can't take this kind of pressure. And it's very specific to the capital city, where the population is used to a certain degree of services. And as those get cut off, that is going to be a big problem for the regime. So I think this is a very strategic move by the president that will hasten the progress towards that deal he wants to get.
It's so interesting that you started there, because that's what's in focus for us this hour, too. It's this sort of degradation that they brought on themselves, the Iranian regime, of their society. Everything's sort of imploding. And look at why. They kill their own people. They're terrorists. And if the brutality of Iran's regime needed further highlighting, look at Sunday. Iran executed 2 young men on Sunday for sheltering terrified protesters who are trying to flee the regime's ruthless security forces during the widespread demonstrations earlier this year. They were only 18 and 23 years old. So they hold these people all this time, and when they feel like they need to flex the power of bloodshed at their hands, they start killing people who've helped others. I mean, this is not a normal society. I'm boggled, actually, Victoria. How do you get a deal with these people?
No, it's horrific, Harris. And I mean, those poor young men, and you showed their pictures and the pictures of our heroes coming home today. This is all unnecessary death caused by the Islamic Republic, which has to be differentiated from the Iranian people, of course.
Yes.
And that's what they are. They are merchants of death. They don't care. And at this point, they are desperate to hold on to power. And so they are going to, they're going to take this kind of very brutal public act of execution, of young men. And but the problem for them is they're killing their own next generation. And
yes.
My understanding is a lot of those tens of thousands that were killed were young, educated people that they can ill afford to lose. But to your final point, I mean, this is all ridiculous. Iran is such a beautiful country. They have everything. They have oil. They have natural gas, a beautiful culture. None of this was necessary. And what did they do? They poured all their money into things like Pickaxe Mountain and the IRGC, and things that you can't eat, you can't drive, and that don't produce anything.
All right, I want to move to this because something happened during this hour yesterday that was monumental among all the things that are coming together and coming apart in the Middle East. The President of the United States welcomed the President of Lebanon to the White House. We covered it live this hour. President Trump says Israel has now begun pulling troops out of southern Lebanon, where the Jewish state has been fighting Iran's proxy Hezbollah. Remember, that's the military base, that military of that army of terrorists run by, paid for Iran that's been on the ground inside of another country. And Lebanon would love to be able to control its own country again with its own military. The president is calling it a first step. Trump also opened the door to speaking directly with the terror group. His remarks came during his meeting with Lebanon's president, as I mentioned, Joseph Aoun, and we covered it live.
We've already met a couple of times, and we've had some good meetings, and we are going to solve a lot of problems. We've already solved some of them for Lebanon. As you know, there's a Hezbollah problem, but we've done some things that I think the world will take notice. I would say this: if the president wanted me to speak to Hezbollah, you know, he's lived with Hezbollah for a long time. And if the president wanted me to speak to Hezbollah, I would.
That was a spectacularly important moment, Victoria.
Oh, it was, Harris. And President Aoun is a new kind of president for Lebanon. And I might not go so far to say I'm hopeful about that situation, but I'm certainly much less pessimistic than I've been for many, many years about Lebanon going forward under his leadership. He's a strong leader. He's Christian, which is interesting. And he's the former head of the Lebanese armed forces and has been a very strong counterterrorism partner to us in the fight against ISIS. And he has the heft. He has the legitimacy to get into a deal with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump and deliver. And so we are seeing the Israelis start to withdraw from some of what we're calling these pilot villages to see if the LAF can come in and clear out the Hezbollah. The other piece to this, Harris, is the Jordanian armed forces can also potentially be a verification device. You know, that they would also go in. They're a lot stronger than the Lebanese forces are right now and assist in this process.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I took notes on that, the role of Jordan in all of this. So now you are kind of pulling maybe more people into the Abraham Accords. I mean, to join those countries that are in it. Real quick thought.
Oh, yeah. Jordan, of course, already has a peace treaty with Israel, but this could expand to Syria, to Lebanon, and even Iraq.
Yeah, amazing. Great to have you always. Thank you. Well,
thank you, Harris.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.